The NSA director was wrong. Probable cause is in the Fourth Amendment, but Risen is still being ordered by the courts to reveal his source, and he's resisting, leading to an armed clash and a possible jail term.
Trying to do, they're trying to kind of create for accepted reporting, and that if you as a reporter go outside those parameters, that you'll be punished, and that the sources that you are trying to deal with will be prosecuted.
Media old-timers like retired Times editor Seymour Topping sees a larger context too.
We're living in a period of terrorism, of danger on questions affecting national security, and therefore the whole question of the role of the press becomes, and its relationship with the government becomes more and more important. It's important that the public become more and more aware of the problems confronting the press.
Journalists in the building, like Bill Kovich and other former Times bureau chief, were also very conscious of what happened to another building in New York, the World Trade Center, creating the pretext for the rise of massive government spying.
When the Trade Center went down, all bets were off. Who was going to challenge the government? Nobody was. We didn't do it. The press didn't do it. The government had the opportunity. George W. Bush opened all the doors.
Fast forward to the present day, we have situations where newspapers like the one you work for here are actually willing to work with whistleblowers and bring out information that maybe in the past they wouldn't have done as quickly, although we do have the Pentagon Papers.
And I helped work on the Pentagon Papers. We were ready to do it. The Times was ready to do it at any time if they could confirm the information. We got the Pentagon Papers done, but we rented 2 floors of a hotel over here for a month and vetted that data ourselves, so we did our own reporting.
Mr. Ehrlichman, are you telling me that the break-in to Dr. Fielding's office was to satisfy the President of the United States?
The President wanted very much to make sure that a thing like this could not happen again. How one learned whether Ellsberg acted alone, as a disgruntled employee of a think tank, whether he acted as a member of an international spy ring delivering secrets to a foreign embassy, or just what his role was, where he fit, had to be determined, in the opinion of the investigators, by every available means.
You have a sense of mission, which is unusual in journalism, a sense of, you're actually uncovering something of value and importance to the American people.
That's the only reason to be a journalist. I mean, democracy, you know as well as I do, democracy only survives on a population that has the kind of information that allows them to make a decision to help make a democracy work. And if the press doesn't do it, who will?
This is not just an American problem. Journalists in other countries are being spied on too by the NSA and their own intelligence agencies, says Tim McNulty.
If you look at journalists in other countries, they risk a great deal more than we risk. We may be, prosecuted, or we may end up with adverse publicity or things like that, but we rarely feel that our lives are threatened, that our livelihoods are threatened, that our families. The journalists in many other countries are not only more aggressive, they're more courageous.
This Sources and Secrets conference included exchanges with representatives of the intelligence community who argued that whistleblowers like Edward Snowden should be in prison.
It is my personal opinion, Jim Risen called me out on this, that people who leak classified information commit crimes, and if we can catch them, which is not always easy, we ought to prosecute them and they ought to go to jail.
Here's Robert Lynn, who is General Counsel for the Director of National Intelligence.
There are many, many things that the government believes need to be kept secret in the national interest. And there's a full recognition of the fact that the press is almost invariably going to balance that interest different than the government does. And so there's going to be necessarily an adversarial relationship, and the question is, what kind of processes can we set up to ensure that that adversarial relationship is a productive one rather than a destructive one?
The panels also included journalists who have been disseminating and publishing secrets leaked by Snowden, like the Washington Post's Barton Gellman, and independents like Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras.
Edward Snowden is a rock star to some. To others, of course, he is a traitor.
Roger Cohen.
And here today, via Skype, we have the three journalists who were entrusted by Snowden, chosen by Snowden, to be the recipients of top-secret NSA archives. Do you feel it's essential? Do you systematically run by the government, ask for government response on the stories you've done on the Snowden revelations or other stories about the NSA?
We've had the legal framework since, I don't know, the Alien and Sedition Acts and the Espionage Act 97 years ago, with which a government could prosecute journalists for talking about secrets. And it has been a legal culture, a political culture, that's created the barriers to that.
Greenwald and Poitras have worked directly with leading newspapers to report secrets buried in these documents.
He did not think that he should be in the position to decide which documents ought to be published and which ones ought to be suppressed. He came to well-established and well-regarded newspapers and asked the journalists in those institutions with whom he was working to make those judgments about what is in the public interest to publish and what is not. And specifically, at least to me, said, a lot of what I'm giving you is for background, for context, for understanding, but I don't think all of this should be published. If I just wanted all of this published, I wouldn't need you guys. I could have just uploaded it to the internet myself.
The thing that has, I think, been positive in terms of Snowden's disclosures is that it's reawakened an adversarial press, and that people have been shocked that these decisions about surveillance have been made completely in secret, completely without public debate. And that there does seem to be some kind of an awakening, but I wouldn't call it a shift of the pen.